The Embraer C-390 Millennium is one of the most disruptive airlift aircraft to appear in decades. Not because it's experimental or exotic, but because it targets the most stable market in military aviation and says, very calmly, we can do this faster, carry more, and still operate tactically. That market has been dominated for generations by one name, the Hercules. And the C-390's real story only makes sense when you measure it directly against the latest version of that legend, the Lockheed Martin C-130J Super Hercules. At first glance, the difference is obvious even to non-aviation people. The C-390 is a twin-engine jet transport with high wings and a rear ramp. The C-130J is a 4-engine turboprop with the same high-wing, rear-ramp blueprint that has served since the 1950s. But the deeper difference is what those engines imply. A turboprop transport like the C-130J is built around low-speed control, short-field performance, and maximum lift at the edge of the envelope. A jet transport like the C-390 is built around speed, altitude, and energy, carrying heavy loads farther and faster than using heavy, sophisticated high-lift systems to still behave like a tactical airlifter when it needs to. Let's start with the hard numbers that define the mission. Embraer markets the C-390 as a 26-ton class medium airlifter, and that's the key benchmark. Maximum concentrated payload of 26,000 kilograms, or about 57,320 pounds. That puts it above the typical published payload range of the C-130J family. Lockheed lists maximum payload figures around the 21,000 kilogram class for the C-130J-30 in public specifications, about 46,700 pounds, depending on variant and configuration. In plain terms, when the mission is more heavy stuff, the C-390 is built to lift more in one sortie. And that changes how fast a force can build combat power forward. Now let's look at the speed dimension, because that's where the jet concept punches through the ceiling of what most tactical airlifters are used to. The C-390 cruises around Mach 0.8, or roughly 460 miles per hour, specifically marketed as delivering payload faster than other aircraft in its class. The C-130J, as a turboprop, is not slow for what it is, but it lives in a different speed world. Lockheed's own product material for the stretched C-130J-30 cites around 410 miles per hour at 22,000 feet in a representative cruise condition. That's the difference between getting a pallet of critical supplies to the other side of a continent in hours, instead of hours plus a big extra chunk. In wartime logistics, those hours are sometimes the difference between a unit being combat ready today or tomorrow. Altitude is another quiet advantage that becomes huge when you're operating across regions with weather, terrain, or threat constraints. The C-390 is often cited with an operating ceiling around 36,000 feet, and its jet performance means it can climb, cruise, and reposition like a modern commercial-class aircraft. The C-130J's operational ceiling depends strongly on payload and conditions. Lockheed's figures for the C-130J-30, for example, show a ceiling around 26,000 feet at heavy payload. That doesn't make the Hercules inferior. It makes it specialized. The C-130J is built to do tactical work down low and in tight places. But in a world where weather corridors and airspace management matter, a higher cruise altitude can simplify planning, reduce turbulence, and open routing options. Range is where the comparison becomes nuanced, because both aircraft can be configured for very different mission profiles. The C-390's published performance data often highlights a mission range around 1,240 miles with 26 tons, and longer ranges with slightly reduced payload, plus a long ferry range that climbs into the several thousand-mile category. The C-130J-30's published data highlights around 2,400 miles at maximum normal payload in Lockheed's material. Again, it depends on how you define payload and mission profile. The honest conclusion is not one always outranges the other, but this: the C-390 is optimized to carry heavy loads fast with jet efficiency at altitude, while the C-130J is optimized to operate flexibly across a wide range of payloads, including long-range missions with tactical flexibility and proven procedures. In real fleet planning, nations choose the aircraft that matches their typical mission set, not just the peak number. Now, let's talk about the thing that decides whether an aircraft is truly tactical: the ability to operate from rough fields, short runways, and damaged strips. The Hercules legacy is almost unmatched here. The C-130 was built to go where other transports simply can't, and the C-130J continues that tradition with improved engines, modern avionics, and better performance compared to older C-130 variants. The C-390, however, is not a strategic airliner with a ramp. Embraer built it with robust landing gear, low-pressure tires, and a design explicitly intended to operate from semi-prepared surfaces. The real difference is not whether they can both do tactical airlift. They can. The difference is how forgiving they are at the very edge of the field performance envelope, especially when the runway is short, hot, high, soft, or badly damaged. In most public discussions, the C-130J is still treated as the benchmark for true austere operations. The C-390 counters by offering a tactical aircraft that also behaves like a jet transport in transit. Cargo hold geometry matters just as much as payload because the shape of the aircraft decides what you can actually carry. The C-390's cargo compartment is designed to take large military loads, and Embraer's own material emphasizes the ability to carry heavy vehicles and standardized pallets. Public descriptions mention a hold width around 3.45 meters or 11.3 feet, optimized for practical military cargo. The C-130J has a cargo bay that has proven compatibility with countless load types for decades, from vehicles and pallets to paratroop operations and humanitarian relief. Here's the key: both can do the core missions: troop transport, cargo, airdrop. But the C-390's extra payload margin and jet speed tend to favor fewer sorties for the same effect, while the C-130J's long-established compatibility and procedure library favor workhorse reliability across every scenario imaginable. Airdrop and special missions flexibility is where the Hercules has built an empire. The C-130J exists in multiple mission variants: transport, special operations with the MC-130J, search and rescue, the HC-130J, tanker variants, the KC-130J, and specialized government configurations. The Millennium family is built with multi-mission flexibility as well, including tanker capability in the KC-390 configuration. Embraer emphasizes modern avionics, fly-by-wire controls, and mission systems designed from the start for roles beyond simple cargo hauling. The difference is maturity. The C-130 ecosystem is massive. Global training pipelines, spares, mission kits, and decades of operational improvisation. The C-390 is younger, but it's designed with modern modular integration in mind from day one. So how do you decide which aircraft has the advantage? You stop thinking like a brochure and start thinking like a commander. If your priority is speed and heavy throughput, moving a large amount of cargo quickly across long distances, the C-390 is extremely compelling. A 26-ton payload class, jet cruise around Mach 0.8, and higher altitude transit means it can act like a rapid logistics accelerator. In scenarios where you need to shift forces and supplies quickly across a theater where every hour counts, the Millennium's performance profile is a real strategic advantage. If your priority is operating from the worst airstrips in the world, repeatedly, with maximum margin and a system that has already proven itself everywhere for decades, the C-130J remains a safer bet. It's not just an aircraft, it's a global standard. The Hercules is the transport plane that most militaries already know how to use, already know how to maintain, and already know how to deploy under pressure. That matters, because war is not a controlled test range. It's chaos, and in chaos, maturity is a capability. Now let's focus on what a lot of viewers really want to know: cost. This is where you have to be very honest because both aircraft are sold in packages that include training, spares, support, and mission equipment, meaning unit price is often a misleading metric. Public reporting on C-390 deals shows that the same aircraft can appear as one number in a simple headline and a very different number once you include simulators, training, electronic warfare suites, long-term support, and logistics agreements. For example, Austria's publicly discussed C-390 purchase was reported with a likely unit cost range roughly in the 130 to 150 million euro bracket, depending on configuration and package. Meanwhile, Portugal's deal for 5 aircraft plus a simulator and long-term support totaled hundreds of millions of euros. Again, reflecting an entirely capability package, not just airframes. The point is, the Millennium is not cheap, but it is designed to compete on life cycle cost and availability in a segment where the alternative is often expensive upgrades to aging fleets. For the C-130J, public foreign military sales notifications can also be enormous, multi-billion-dollar packages that include aircraft, engines, spares, training, long-term support, and government services. Those numbers are not per aircraft price tags. They are strategic capability bundles. Older documents and government reporting have historically cited C-130J flyaway type figures in the tens of millions of dollars, depending on year and variant. But modern packages can climb sharply once you include everything required to field and sustain a fleet. What's fair to say is that the C-130J is a mature product with a huge production base, and that maturity can reduce risk and stabilize sustainment, sometimes more important than the headline sticker price. So who wins the replacement debate? Can the C-390 replace the C-130 in transport operations? In many air forces, yes, because the core mission is not land on the shortest dirt strip on Earth. The core mission is moving troops and cargo reliably, quickly, and repeatedly. Portugal, for example, selected the C-390 to replace older C-130s, and other European customers have followed with similar logic. When your typical operations involve NATO logistics routes, international deployments, humanitarian missions, and standard military airfields, combined with some tactical capability, the C-390's speed and payload advantage can translate into real operational efficiency. But there are mission sets where the C-130J's specific strengths remain hard to match. Extreme austere field operations, very short runways with heavy loads, and the enormous special operations ecosystem built around Hercules variants. The C-130J also has the advantage of sheer ubiquity. If you operate in coalition environments, you will almost always find Hercules-compatible support knowledge somewhere nearby. That's not a performance stat, that's an operational reality. The most honest conclusion is that the C-390 is not a Hercules killer. It is a serious alternative that forces the market to rethink what tactical airlift should look like in the 2020s. The Hercules is the king of the rough field work and the ultimate ecosystem aircraft. The Millennium is the fast, heavy-lifting disruptor that brings jet-speed logistics into a mission space that used to accept turboprop limitations as a law of physics. So if you had to summarize the advantage in one sentence, it would be this. The Embraer C-390 Millennium offers more payload and significantly higher cruise speed, meaning it can move the same force faster and often in fewer sorties, while the Lockheed Martin C-130J Super Hercules remains unmatched in austere field versatility and the depth of its global operational ecosystem. And that's why this rivalry matters. It's not just a comparison of two airplanes. It's a debate about how future wars will be supplied and sustained, with a proven rugged workhorse that can land almost anywhere, or with the jet-powered lifter that can move more, faster, at modern transit speeds, while still keeping one foot in the tactical world. For many countries, the answer won't be one or the other. The answer will be how to build a fleet where each aircraft does what it was built to do best. Because in real military logistics, the aircraft that wins is the one that keeps delivering when everything else is going wrong. What are your thoughts on the C-390 Millennium? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to our channel to get our latest videos straight to your notifications.